Okay, and welcome to another episode of Tea Time with Mother and Crone. We've got a really special show for you tonight. We're going to go into a little bit of divination and give you an idea of what goes on out there with other people who do tarot. And we're going to be tarot and oracle cards tonight. But first, we're going to start out as we usually do. Mylinda's going to tell us what's in our cups tonight.
Tonight we have Mugwort. Not the best tasting. You could, but you could put it in other blends. It is good for like third eye. It's a mild hallucinogen. It has a lot of health benefits actually. It's good for digestion and gut health. And it aids in menstrual cramps. It actually is used for centuries to help stop heavy flow and to regulate a cycle from start to finish, which I thought was interesting. It can also be used for pain relief. You can actually rub it on sore muscles, which I didn't know, like the actual dried herb on. Yeah, and of course you can make salves and everything, like that, of course. It's also good for headaches, insomnia, and depression. So,
Kind of like St. John's wort.
yes, exactly like that.
St. John's wort. They're probably related.
All the warts.
All the warts.
All the wort family. And so it says, for millennia, mugwort has been a source for flavoring beverages and food and has also been used for its beneficial properties. There is much traditional folklore surrounding the plant, and it has been reported to encourage dreaming. And then it says Artemisia vulgaris is an aromatic plant that grows along creek banks and waysides. This member of the Aceraceae family is known for the silvery shine underneath its leaves. Mugwort herb is commonly brewed into mugwort tea and can also be used as incense, which we know, incorporated into dream pillows and infused into botanical vinegars.
Vinegar.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Now, it's a common plant in the British Isles. Its angular purple stalks growing more than 3 feet in height. It bears dark green leaves with cottony down undersides. Mugwort is said to have derived its name from having been used to flavor beer before the wide use of hops, which I did not know.
A mug of beer. Okay, that's where they get it from.
I did not, yeah, I thought that was really interesting. The botanical name is derived from Artemis, the Greek goddess of the hunt, fertility, and the forest and hills. Roman soldiers were known to put mugwort in their sandals to keep their feet from getting tired.
But if you can put it on something that's sore, like a bruise,
and that's probably exactly what they were doing, because if you think Roman soldiers, they're probably out for long periods at a time, and if it's good for pain relief that you can rub on muscles, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does for your feet because they walked in those little like thin sandals. So
Yeah. Oh, this is interesting too. Native Americans equate mugwort with witchcraft, which is, commonly mugwort, when you hear mugwort, it's like the witch herb,
yeah.
They believe that rubbing the leaves on the body are said to keep ghosts away, and a necklace of mugwort leaves is said to help protect against dreaming about the dead.
Wow. Okay.
I know. It has been believed that John the Baptist wore a girdle of mugwort in the wilderness for protection. Other magical attributes include protection for road-weary travelers and general protection against the evils of the spirit realms. And many have reported that if mugwort is used as a tea before bed or even just sprinkled around your pillow, a person may have lucid dreams that night.
If it is good for pain and some of that, it probably does induce a little psychosis. So if it's relaxing you, like anything that relaxes you allows you to dream sometimes more than you normally would.
And if you remember from our previous show, way back when we went to Casadega, and when we did our shopping, we had our third eye tea. Mugwort was one of those
You're right, along with the blue lotus.
Blue lotus flower, yep. And there was like calendula and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, so it's good for, it's technically a mild hallucinogen, but not so. It's not like shrooms, people. It's like you're not gonna.
It's probably more of a relaxant,
Yeah,
kind of
and
like
that's
a
why it's good.
lavender or something, just to,
Exactly, and that's why it's good for insomnia and dreaming and sleeping and headaches. So I mean, it makes sense.
it does. I just never knew that much. Mugwort, back in the day, a lot of people smoked mugwort and they did it in a bong.
Oh,
Yes.
the
Um,
original.
I I have never smoked, so for me,
Yeah,
that's beyond my realm of expertise or experience. But I
right.
do remember back in the day that mugwort was a big thing, back in the 60s and 70s, and you bonged it.
Interesting. Well, and it's interesting because I don't think I ever brought up, even in our April series with the cannabis, it's not uncommon to put different herbs with your cannabis and smoke it. Especially like people will do lavender. There was even, it's even a thing, believe it or not, to roll your joint in rose petals and smoke it.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
And there you go for cannabis magic if you're doing something for love or, roses, that type of thing.
That's
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. I mean, I didn't realize that, but that would make sense too with the mugwort and the cannabis together.
Yeah.
Because
And
mugwort,
lavender, there's all sorts.
Whiteley,
Right.
hallucinogenic.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's not going to give you a buzz. It's going to make you feel probably like after a glass of wine, just
Yeah. Just
relaxed,
mellow. Yeah.
just a little mellow. Um, but yeah, that's really cool. I mean, you hear a lot about mugwort, and if you ever watch the silly shows, it's Eye of Newt, Toe of Frog, and
Hmm.
they always throw mugwort in there.
Yeah. I mean, and if you look, mugwort is also considered like the witch's herb. Like
Yeah,
it's commonly in the witch's cabinet, so
it's in mine, and I use it. I use it magically.
yeah,
Uh,
I do too.
I have the fresh to obviously try the tea.
Hmm.
Um, maybe with a lot of honey. I'm sorry, it is a
It is
little earthy for me.
yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, I'm not an earthy kind of girl, so it's like,
Like
yeah,
drop that honey in there.
yeah, drop the honey. But I'm sure if you mixed it with a lot of other things, it's going to taste,
Oh
just
yeah.
nice. But that's interesting because um, mugwort, being of the wort family, it's in also with the wormwood, and that's
Oh
absinthe,
yes.
little green fairies. Um,
Nightshade.
Now that I do drink. The
Yeah.
absinthe I can handle. I'm not so sure that this tea. Maybe I put
Absent, you can handle mugwort. That's too
that's
much.
too much. Yeah, I know. People are sitting there going, "Oh my god!" But no,
Oh,
that
I love it.
it's along the same lines. It's a mild, you know, and it's mild. People don't understand. Like they think,
It is.
just like with cannabis, you immediately go to the stoner brain.
Hmm.
But you can take it and function all day long. Nobody knows you're taking it. It's like any kind of drug. You can overdo or do it right. And it's
I see all sorts of walks of life that come in the dispensaries. People, doctors coming in scrubs, lawyers. I
yep.
mean, the whole
But
thing.
it's all in how you do it and the way you do it. So, you hear a lot of this when we say some of the drugs are mildly
Yeah.
psychotic type things. It's that it's very mild. You have to remember our medications came from herbs.
Yes.
That's,
Exactly.
so once we get back to that, it gives you a lot more. What we've done is in medicine is we've taken the good part out of it. So they would take the mugwort and suck everything out of it that we could use. But sometimes you need the whole herb or
Yeah.
the whole plant to make it work the way it's supposed to.
And I think we've also talked about in past shows how you may be able to use one part of the plant but not another. Like you can use the roots of the plant, but the leaves and the flowers are put. So always do your research.
Re-
Um, yes.
but it's a lot of it too. I mean, with a lot of the stuff, if you use the whole plant instead of a great thing is pomegranate. Everybody is now on that antioxidant thing. So they say, oh, we're taking all the great benefits out of the pomegranate and you're getting just what you need. But if you eat the fruit, you actually get more nutrients and
Right.
stuff that works together with that one specific thing that's an antioxidant. So
Exactly.
a lot of times people will, try and take the shortcut and, it doesn't
Hmm.
always work. Sometimes you're better off just eating the whole thing.
Exactly. Exactly. So tonight we are talking about tarot and oracle. Tarot, however you want to say it.
However you want to say it. I grew up saying tarot.
See, and I've always said tarot,
And
but
you
every time I say that, I get corrected. So I'm going to try tarot.
No, you're tarot, I'm tarot. You're
At
tarot,
least I'm not
I'm
saying tarot, okay? Give me
tarot,
some
yeah.
credit. Or tarot, if you want to read it how it looks.
Yeah.
So
Um,
a lot of people don't realize, but tarot started in the 13th and 14th century.
yeah.
And it was never ever used as divination. It was always used for playing cards. And actually, they were originally playing cards, like you would see your
Right.
bicycle cards.
Well,
Right. Your
minor
poker cards.
arcana.
Right. Like your poker cards. And they were, it can be, so artists in Europe created the first playing cards, which were used for games and featured 4 different suits. These suits were similar to what we use today in tarot, not bicycle. Staves or wands, discs or coins, cups, and swords, which, if you know, we have the wands, the cups, the swords, the pentacles. But again, it depends on your deck too, because there's not all decks have those suits. So because there's like 1,000,000 decks now. After a decade or two of using these in the mid 1400s, Italian artists began painting additional cards heavily illustrated to add into the existing suits. These trump or triumph cards were often painted for wealthy families. Members of the nobility would commission artists to create for them their own set of cards, featuring family members and friends as the triumph cards. A number of sets, some of which still exist today, were created for the Visconti family of Milan, which counted several dukes and barons among its members. And in both France and Italy, the original purpose of tarot was as a parlor game, as we said, not a divinatory tool. It appears that divination with playing cards started to become popular in the late 16th and early 17th century, although at that time it was far more simple than how we use it today. Because again, not as many illustrations, not as much symbolism, things like that. But by the 18th century, people were beginning to assign specific meanings to each card and even offer suggestions as to how they could be laid out for divinatory purposes. And that's how we commonly use it today, of course.
Now, for a long time, they were illegal.
Oh, really? See, I did not know that. Well, I
So,
mean, it makes sense with the whole probably witchcraft thing, or
divination thing. If you
yeah,
read the Bible, it says no divination. So, although it was a parlor game, it was
right,
actual divination going on. And what would happen, somebody would have a playing deck. Well, playing decks were very popular, 52 cards, the 4 suits.
right.
And people would have them. Well, your reader carried the other part. They carried the major arcana. So you had the minor arcana and the major. The major is and that was the person they would look for.
Ah,
So she would bring, and it was usually a woman, she would bring that, put them together, you do divination.
interesting.
But if they get caught with just the playing cards, everybody had playing cards. It wasn't a big deal. It was she who carried the major arcana. So you learn to carry it, hide it, bring it out, and do your
Yeah.
readings and put it back in because it's very much against the church teachings at
Well,
that.
that's interesting. So, leading into that, in 1781, a French Freemason and former Protestant minister named Antoine Court de Gebelin published a complex analysis of the tarot in which he revealed that the symbolism in the tarot was in fact derived from the esoteric secrets of Egyptian priests. I thought that was interesting.
Wonder how he got that information.
I'm getting there. So de Gebelin went on to explain that the ancient occult knowledge had been carried to Rome and revealed to the Catholic Church and the popes, who desperately wanted to keep this arcane knowledge secret. So basically what you just said.
Yeah, leave it to Rome.
In his essay, the chapter on tarot meanings explains the detailed symbolism of tarot artwork and connects it to the legends of Isis, Osiris, and other Egyptian gods. The biggest problem with his work is that there was really no historical evidence to support it. However, that did not stop wealthy Europeans from jumping into the esoteric knowledge bandwagon, and by the early 19th century, playing card decks like the Marseille Tarot were being produced with artwork specifically based on de Gebelin's analysis. And then in 1791, Jean-Baptiste Eliette, a French occultist, released the first tarot deck designed specifically for divinatory purposes. 1791.
Wow.
Yeah. Rather than a parlor or game or entertainment. A few years earlier, he had responded to de Gebelin's work with a treatise of his own, a book explaining how one could use the tarot for divination. As occult interest in the tarot expanded, it became more associated with the Kabbalah and the secrets of Hermetic mysticism. By the end of the Victorian era, occultism and spiritualism had become popular pastimes for bored upper-class families. It was not uncommon to attend a house party and find a seance taking place or someone reading palms or tea leaves in the corner, which I think we more commonly, a lot of us know about the spiritualist era, with spiritualism and the whole seance. Everybody had a seance, that was the thing to do.
That was the thing to do. And yes, that's where they found a lot of the, it's interesting when they go back and they look at the old pictures and things, you can see strings attached to things.
Yeah, exactly. And how you would see like the table shaking and there's like something underneath the table or something. But
they actually got very inventive. They women, especially since they had the big bustle dresses, could hide all sorts of stuff under their dresses and pull it out under, the table and have it come up, kind of thing. So yeah, it got a little wild at the time, but tarot reading has been around forever.
It has. And the most popular deck that a lot of us use is the Rider-Waite deck. British occultist Arthur Waite was a member of the Order of the Golden Dawn and apparently a longtime nemesis of Aleister Crowley, who was also involved in the group and its various offshoots. Waite got together with artist Pamela Colman Smith, also a Golden Dawn member, and created the Rider-Waite Tarot deck, which was first published in 1909. At Waite's suggestion, Smith used the Sola Busca artwork for inspiration, and there are many similarities in the symbolism between Sola Busca and Smith's final result. Smith was the first artist to use characters as representative images in the lower cards, or minor arcana. Instead of showing merely a cluster of cups, coins, wands, or swords, Smith incorporated human figures into the artwork, and the result is the iconic deck that every reader knows today. The imagery is heavy on Kabbalistic symbolism, and because of this, is typically used as the default deck in nearly all instructional books on tarot. Which is true. If you're starting tarot, or you're wanting to learn about tarot, or you're taking classes, almost always, the lessons are going to be based on the Rider-Waite deck.
And I am so guilty of that because this is actually my Rider-Waite teaching deck that I use when I teach. And I use Rider-Waite because it is so known. And once you learn this, you can go anywhere.
Anywhere.
But this is where you cut your teeth.
Yep. That's what I read.
And it's interesting because if you get a group of witches together. Now, not all witches read tarot. Let me preface it with that.
Right. No.
There are a lot who do not. But those that do, if you get a group of us together, the first thing we do is whip out our cards.
Oh
Then
yeah.
after we ooh and ah over everybody's cards, because everybody's got a different deck of cards, you're like, oh wow, look, Then it gets down to the business, and a lot of times your default deck is your Rider-Waite deck.
And also, it can get a little tricky um, when you purchase the Rider-Waite because there are different versions of it now.
Yeah.
There's the Radiant Rider-Waite. Is that what you have? Because your pictures look a little brighter than mine. I have the original. Yeah. See. Okay. Keep that up. This is mine.
Yeah.
See the difference. So
Yeah.
same card, same images, but hers is much brighter. So
My deck is very, very bright. All of my colors are popped.
yeah. And see, mine are very older, vintagey looking because they have the universal Rider-Waite, they have the Radiant, which are the brighter colors, and they have the original, which is what I have. I think even the back of your deck might look different. Yeah, see, that's the back of mine. So there, but it's still the same symbolism. It's still, and it's a really good, like you said, good one to cut your teeth on because it's really important to understand the basics, but by no means do you have to go by the book in a reading. Because that's not what it is. It's intuition, it's your energy, but it's good to know the basics. And when I do readings for people, I read with this deck. I have a million decks, and there might be one or two more that I'll read with, but this is like the main one.
I have a very old deck that I read with that's actually out of print. Um, my cards are terrible. They're all beat up. They're so sad looking.
That's cool, though. That's awesome, though.
But that is an
They
older
were
deck.
loved.
This is my nobody is allowed to touch deck.
Uh huh.
This is what these are for serious.
Yeah.
When I have to do a serious reading, um, the deck is very different,
Ooh,
but
nice.
it's not in print anymore. I wish it was, but this is a really old deck. It was a great deck. After you learn once you learn the Rider-Waite, from there it's
You get the basics.
whatever. Yeah,
Right.
because there are like, oh my goodness, I won't even begin to mention how many decks there are out there. Whatever
A
you're
million.
interested in, I'm trying to read the date. 1986 is when I got these.
Oh, cool.
So whatever you're into, fairies, angels, there's
Anything.
a deck out there. There's an all cat deck.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
I was going to say that because a friend of mine, that was a gift for
Well,
her.
and even like, okay, here's an example, and this is one of my favorite decks, the Everyday Witch Tarot. See, I did it, Tarot, whatever. I'm gonna say it how I
Just
say
say
it.
it, Terrell. I said,
This has the same suit. So we talked about how some of them will have different suits. This has the same suit, but very different imagery. So this is, for example, the Eight of Pentacles.
oh,
And
I
the
love.
deck, this deck, the Six of Wands, every one is a witch, is in a witch hat, and everyone has a kitty cat in it. But I just love this and the illustrations, and then the back of the deck, like the.
Now I have a witch's deck also. This is the back of my deck.
I think I have that as well, which
You
is wisdom.
probably have this because it's a witch's deck. Great imagery. Again, when you're reading the the person, but
Right.
you're also reading the cards because the symbolism is there for a reason.
Yes.
Um, Once you get your basic down, with your good old Rider-Waite deck, then you move on to all of these awesome dragon decks. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how many
I
decks
have
there
one
are.
of those around here somewhere too.
This
A
is,
dragon
uh,
deck. I don't know where I put it. I had it out. Oh, this is my um well, I'll talk about it because it's an Oracle deck. When we get to Oracle, I'll switch over.
Right.
But there's a lot of different things. Yeah, I mean, and then there's fun decks that I would never use in a reading, but they're just fun. I mean, unless we're doing something fun, not like a serious reading. If we're just like a bunch of friends, like shooting the breeze. But this is the Halloween tarot,
Ooh,
and that's what the back looks like.
interesting.
But then they're like cutesy kind of cards. Like the Six of Bats. Okay, well, bats is not a suit. So there's the example of, they have bats, they have pumpkins, which would be your pentacles. Um, they have ghosts. See, and I haven't read with this one very much, so I don't know what the different suits are necessarily. Ghosts would probably be wands. And then they have ghost imps is the other one. So yeah, but I mean, there's so many, like you said, there's so many decks, and I am not ashamed to admit I judge a deck by its cover because, like you just mentioned, yes, it's for the person, but I have to be able to read them, even though it's intuition. I have to be able. The way that I personally read is the I go very deep into the symbolism and the imagery that I see and what my intuition is picking up on. And the thing about learning, in my opinion, it's great to know the basics. But for example, I had a reading one time and the Three of Swords, if you look at the traditional Three of Swords, it's a lot traditionally, if you look at it in the book, it's, sorrow, depression, like backstabbing. It's so depressing looking. But in the reading, that's not what I was getting at all. I was getting like three siblings, like, and I'm not going to go into too much specific, but and it was because her and her siblings at the time were having, a falling out or whatever. And I just met the person. I had, no idea, but it's just things like that. It doesn't necessarily always come through with what textbook might say, and that's okay because that's how you're supposed to read, is just with your intuition.
And that's true with any divination. Once you are
Yeah.
confident in what you're doing, you get your first couple scores and they look really good, then you move on. There
Right.
are so many tarots. This is the World Spirit Tarot,
Oh.
and the back of the card is a.
Oh, I like that.
So I have quite a collection. It's over the years you start collecting them, which is
Mhm.
really addictive.
Yeah.
Then we have our own deck, which is the Corellian Deck,
Yes.
um,
Tarot of Hecate, Lord Don's deck.
and that's the back if anybody wants to see it. Now, these have extra suits in them. This is a
Mhm.
100 card deck. And
Not your traditional 78.
nope. And you can see that the artistry on them is, whoops, that was a blank one. The artistry on them is awesome.
Yes. I love that deck.
Um, Learning to read with this deck, like any new deck, you have to get it, and there's a break-in period, and that's
Right.
when you're doing your readings and you're seeing if it's coming, if you're reading the card correctly,
Right.
because you're reading the symbolism and all that, and then it's like, wait a minute, I don't understand that symbol, or I don't understand what the card's trying to tell me. With a new
Right.
deck, you're going to get that, so don't let that stop you in any way. You just got to
No,
work with them.
exactly.
Everybody has their favorites and everybody has a deck that they work with. Like I said, that one deck, that it's an older deck. If I'm doing some serious reading, that's the deck I go to. If there's an
Yeah.
issue and I really, like, my daughter called me the other day. Well, she texted me. She says, "Can you do a quick read for me?" So I automatically go for that deck because
Yeah.
that's tried and true. And gave her a quick reading. Take I do what I do with her is I do the layout, then I flip all the cards over and take a picture and send it to her because she reads better than I do. So
Oh,
we
that's
both read, but it's good to get another person's opinion when
It
you're,
is.
because when you read for yourself, a lot of times you will read the symbolism the way you want to read the symbolism just
Yes.
for you,
Right.
and you tend to do that without realizing it. So it's really good um, to catch yourself when you do that. And it's, you get with somebody. My daughter reads for me, I read for her. So, we'll pick up the phone and say, give me a quick reading. When she
Yeah.
gets a chance, she lays them out and sends me the picture. So, the lays, so you know what, and you're like, oh,
Exactly.
that's what I got too.
And this is a deck that I am really, really fond of. I don't even remember how I came across it, honestly, but it's called the Light Seers Tarot. And it, that's what it looks like.
Oh,
And the images are just so pretty. Like the Death card is also a rebirth card.
oh, that is really nice.
It's
That
really
card scares everybody to death.
it it does. It does. But the illustrations in this is just gorgeous. I mean, the Knight of and they're more modern looking, but I really like the Queen of Cups. Um,
Oh,
it
nice. Yeah.
it's just really pretty. And I like it's very diverse. I mean, it's just, and then the High Priestess is, you know, and you can't really see it, but on her eyelids, you can see light colored open eyes.
Oh,
And,
so although her eyes are closed, she can still see.
the
That
Empress.
that is a nice card.
I mean, it's a gorgeous deck. So, I mean, there's so much. There's like Alice in Wonderland decks, there's all sorts of stuff. Um, and whatever is, relatable to you. And then the Two of Swords, which is traditionally, two swords pointing opposite directions with blindfold. I mean, it's, you know,
Interesting. Yes.
it's so pretty. But yeah, and my newest one that actually Reverend Corey recommended, and I just got this like last week. It is the Revelations Tarot. And I haven't even really opened it. I sifted through it, but this is something I had never seen before in a deck, and it's something we can talk about since we're talking about tarot. Do you read reverse? Like if a card comes, I do not either. Now that's only because that's how I was taught initially, but again, I don't really go off of. I took a few classes, and basically my background with it is I took a few classes at a local metaphysical shop. I was only with one other person, which was Miranda, so we learned off of each other. And the reason why I keep doing it is because reading after reading, I won't know people, and they're like, I keep getting feedback. It's spot on. Oh my gosh, how did you know that? Or a lot of time mediumship will come into play, and I'll start picking up on energies and family members and things like that. But this deck might change my mind because unlike original deck where it's the same image just upside down and you're trying to interpret it. So, for example, if you drew, the Nine of Swords, which would look like this, right? But then if in the reading, if it comes up like this, it's typically the opposite meaning of whatever the right side up is. Well, this deck is called the Revelations Tarot again. This one has different images. It's a completely different image when you flip it upside down.
Oh.
So let me see a good example. So like the Magician, right? If you have it upright, and you might not be able to tell, but if you have it upright, you can see the facial expression is one way.
Yeah.
And then if you turn it upside down, it's another person.
Oh yeah, it's completely different.
It's completely different. So it's almost like you're reading a card right side up, but you're reading it based on the imagery and the symbolism of the reverse aspect. I had never seen anything like this. Like, okay, the death card. So it's like Shiva, right? But
Right.
then if it's reversed, it's an infant in the womb, a fetus in the womb. So I just thought, I was like, I've got
That's
to
a
get
great
this.
way for the death card to be.
Yes.
That's a
And that's,
perfect imagery.
yeah, and that's what a lot of people, like you said, they're so scared. But the death card actually, generally, and again, it depends, but generally it just means rebirth, new beginnings.
Something's
It's a
ending,
dying of
starting.
something, right? The dying of something old, it's not
Your plant
literal
dies
death.
and it's starting over again, kind of. You leave
Right.
one job to go to the next job. You're ending that job, you're beginning another job. So it's,
Exactly.
and some people are so um, in tune with all the old, straightforward stuff that, oh, death card means I'm going to die, and all this.
Yeah. It's not meant to be taken literal, like a lot of things
No.
are not meant to be.
Well, I had one. This is an interesting deck. It's a tarot deck, but it is a Celtic and it's Celtic messages, and the cards are round,
Oh, I love.
and you read the images that they have. Now, the back of the card is beautiful. It's all Celtic
Oh, I love that.
from the Book of Kells, but it's like the crow, and you
Ugh,
look up the crow and it tells you, and they have a couple of lays in it so that you can learn how to do it. That's another great thing. When you get a deck, I see so many people buy a deck without a book. Now, let me preface that. You may know the cards, but to get the book with the deck gives you an insight into the artist and the
yes,
artistry and some of the symbolism you might not catch if you don't have the book that goes with it.
I
Um,
totally agree with that.
the
Absolutely.
the books give you a little insight into the card, and they let you see what the artist, many times, what was the artist thinking when they drew this,
Or
or
the author. There's a lot of decks where there would be someone that does the makeup of the cards, the ideas, the messages, this, but they have they commission an artist to do it for them.
right, it's
Um,
Rider Waite.
exactly.
Commissioned Pamela to do them. Now,
Right.
I always like, it's a set, and there's a reason for that. And
Yes.
it does give you a little bit more insight. Now, especially if you buy a deck like this one, this is completely different than anything you've read. You're going to need the book. But
Right.
even if you have a normal deck, and I'm going to say normal because there are no normal decks, I got a million of them sitting here, um, like this one, uh,
Right.
the symbolism on judgment is a little different than
Yeah.
what we're used to. So when you read that, you're going to want to go into the book and look at judgment and see what the artist is saying and see what made them paint that or draw that in that way. And what that does is that just gives you a little bit more background so
Right.
that when you do look at it, you do see, because sometimes some of the cards, like some of these are very, very ornate, and they're like, oh my gosh, look at all the symbolism. Like you're going to be
Well,
able to read that in 30 seconds.
plus you have like a lot of things. Yeah. Oh my gosh. See, I love stuff like that. That's jam packed. Because I will read.
Seriously, dude.
I'm very attention to detail. So when I'm reading, like any little thing, it like.
It
But
pops.
also one thing that you might be missing out on. So, like for example, I just showed the Light Seers deck, right, with the beautiful, but it's not common images. Still the same suits, but it's very different than what the Rider Waite looks like. So this book comes in handy. And if you do read in reverse, what's really neat about this is it says Light Seer, which means right side up, and then if it's reverse it says Shadow Seer. So it will give you a little blip about what it means for each one, but then it goes into bigger detail and expounds on and then also like this one has little affirmations, like for the 10 of Wands. It says, I release my burdens into the ethers, knowing that the universe will help me to tend to the essentials. So, I mean, just little neat things. And then there's
Well,
like a cute little
yeah,
message inside the
they'll
box.
put little messages in it, like some of the imagery. A luminous woman floats above a mountain lake. She pours an endless stream of water from two ornate vessels onto the rocks and water below. A bird swoops through the air around her as dazzling stars light up the sky. That
Oh,
gives you a whole set. That was for the star. Then it
yeah.
tells you what it means. So you get a lot of information out of,
Yeah.
especially a new deck. So
Yes.
I caution all my students, if you're going to get a deck, um, we used to go on field trips to the local metaphysical store in Baltimore,
Mm-hmm.
and I made them touch every deck that was on display, and then we walked through the rest of the store. Then we come back and touch again. Then we
Yeah.
walk through the store again. Then when we come back, whatever deck they pick up, you've seen them all and you've touched them all twice. Whatever deck you pick up at that point is yours.
Yeah.
It's already called to you. That's the third time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I always push to make sure that they got the book,
Yeah.
because the book just gives you a lot of background information and it allows you to expand on what you see.
Well,
To
and like we said, the history of tarot is not necessary to begin readings. You don't have to know all the history of tarot to just like what we went over. A lot of that I had no idea. I've been reading for 8 years, um, almost nine. Geez, but it's helpful to know the history and the myths surrounding. But it's not needed. At some point, yes, it might be good for you. Just like with anything, it's good to know the background, the history. It will help you tap more into
into
the
what's
card.
going on, especially if you go back and you look up a little bit about the artist or the person who designed the cards and then the person who wrote the books. When you start looking at that, then you start gathering a lot more information about it. So it does give you that background.
Exactly. And
Now,
there's different things you can do, different spreads. Like the most common spread is the Celtic Cross. Then you have like you can do past, present, future. You'll see a lot. Now, Pinterest is amazing for spreads, like off the wall, crazy spreads. I mean, they have full moon spreads, they have new moon spreads, they have like ancestral spreads, they have, what the hell am I doing spreads. I
oh,
mean,
I got a whiskey tango foxtrot spread.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, there's so many things you can do. Even like yes, no, a lot of people will pull a card of the day. To start their morning off, see how their day is going. You can pull a card for the month. A lot of people around the beginning of the year or Samhain, which is New Year, will pull a card for the year, or they even have a spread that has 12 cards, and it'll be the year ahead, and it'll be a card for each month upcoming.
Each month.
There's all sorts of different things, all sorts of different things,
There
and
are
even
a million spreads.
yes, a million,
And
yes,
I really encourage everybody to play with them. There are some easy ones. There are some that will blow your mind. I've
yeah.
been reading for about over 40 years, we're going to say.
Say it.
So,
There's
yeah, we're
nothing wrong with wisdom. You're the crone, damn it.
yeah. And I still teach it the way I was taught. I was taught very young how to read. I've always enjoyed it. The problem is buying the decks is addictive. Costs, it's like almost having to have a third job so that you can afford your decks.
Now, that's an interesting point I wanted to bring up tonight. So, hot topic debate around tarot. Do you have to be gifted a deck in order to use it?
I have
That is
never
a
been gifted a deck. I have purchased all of my decks.
I am not on that train. So I have bought most of my decks. Some of them have been gifts, usually from Miranda. I love you, Miranda, because she works at a metaphysical store. So, it's an easy birthday present, Yule present. And she knows I like collecting and she knows my style. But you do not. And again, it's each one's preference. If people think that it has to be gifted to you, I'm not saying you're wrong. But my opinion, Pam's opinion, it does not have to be gifted to you.
A
It
deck
does.
has to speak to me. That's why I take my students to the store to let them find their deck. It
That's how I
has to
am.
appeal to you. Um, Even my granddaughters, when I started teaching them, their birthday present was to go to the metaphysical store to get their first deck of cards. And
Hmm.
it was the same process. Touch everything, let's walk, touch everything, let's walk. which one speaks to you.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it works almost every time. You will have that one that just, you picked it up and put it back, picked it up, put it back. And just take it. It's
And
meant.
then once you have the deck, you can, you can, a lot of people put it under their pillow in like a little bag or a little,
I
and
do
get,
recommend bags.
yes, and get your energy on it. Yeah, I have a nice little bag. They have like a 4-pack on Amazon, these little
Oh,
velvet, different colored bags. And then if you're a seamstress like Angela or Pam, you could make your own bags. I'm going to learn. Yeah, see? Yeah. And then this is what I keep my rider weight in, is this little pretty little.
well, actually, what I found was adorable are these little things. They have a zipper in the front and a zipper in
Yeah.
the top.
And you can
Your
wear 'em.
deck goes here, your book goes here.
That's cool. Yeah, see, I have this one that I keep my rider weight in, and I have a clear quartz in there, an amethyst in there, and a feather.
And that's another thing. You can put the crystals in there. Now, this one came with its own, which was really cool.
Oh, that's cool.
That was my Celtic messages. Um, but while we're talking about the decks themselves, keep them in a bag. It does two things. One, it stops a lot of wear and tear on them because
Hmm.
if you just have them sitting around, they tend to fall and you end up with a mess. And
Yes.
also, it's easier to transport. And if you do what I do, I've got a bunch of different bags. So each one's in a different bag, so I know which deck I'm grabbing.
Yes.
Um,
Like I know that's my rider weight deck because that's
right.
just.
You know what your decks are because you've already grabbed them.
And some of them, like my everyday witch tro, came in a
I,
tin.
I love the tins. I
Yes.
really do because it really.
Especially because it doesn't give much room for them to fall and in the bag, but the bags are good, especially because the bags, a lot of the bags though have drawstrings, so you can
Yes.
get tight and it doesn't, they're not getting bent up or anything like that. But yeah, I just wanted to mention I wanted us to bring up some of those myths and sort of controversial things because so many people think that you have to be gifted decks. So
I've
many
never
people.
been gifted a deck, believe it or not. All of my decks I've purchased myself. If it doesn't speak to me, I mean, I love them,
Yeah,
but it has to jump out and say, hey, this is what I am.
right.
Now,
Exactly.
you'd never heard of the one lay that I did. This is a lay from the 1950s.
Yes.
It's a fun lay.
I'm going to
You
take
pull
notes.
out your Wheel of Fortune and you set it down. You have the person shuffle, draw out 7 cards, and I'm just pulling them off the top, but you'd lay them out, you do the pick, you put the Wheel of Fortune in there. Now, normally I have claws that I use.
Yeah.
It says yes, no, sooner, later, and you shuffle and you put 2, 2, 2, 2. So if I did yes, no, sooner, later, and you look at your cards. Okay, this was yes. Got to look for the Wheel of Fortune. This was no. Okay,
Mm.
it was on no. This is the card that explains the no to your
And
question.
what is that? The 3 of Swords?
This is the 4 of Swords. Sorry, I had my
Sword.
finger right over it.
Oh, it's okay. Ah,
So
see
this is
that is
no,
so
and this
cool.
is why it's no.
I've never heard it done that way. A lot of people will do they'll do the shuffle and then they'll do just the top yes or no, or
Right.
they'll lay it face down and
Well, this
um
gives you a little bit more time to play with the cards and a little bit more thought because that's what we're reading is your energy.
and
And
some people also for yes no cards, if it's upright it's yes, if it's reverse it's
if
no.
it's no.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of fun things I recommend. And if you're going to do it even professional, I read professionally, I get paid. Um, I have a layout, okay? And I have a notebook that has so many different, your normal 4, 3, Celtic Cross, whatever. I have about 10 of them in there.
Hmm.
It's actually laid out with the cards.
I do too. I have the big old binder.
You open it up, you pull out the lay, you close it, and then you write down the cards.
Hmm.
On the bottom, it has, I wrote, now I designed these, and they have the layers where you can write what the card means, and you can give that to that person. The reason I like to do that is, I don't know about you guys, but 2 minutes after somebody's read my cards, I can't remember what they told me.
Nope.
It's just
Yep.
like, there it goes.
Yep.
So this is a good way, one, if you're learning to read, because it's going to help you walk through your spreads, because
Yes.
you'll read each card and you write the card, and then you can go to your book, look it up. You write down what you think it is, go to your book, look it up, and see how close you are. And it's also
Ah,
great when I read professionally, nobody leaves any of my readings without that paper.
right.
Now, if I used to have clients that would come all the time, so I would make copies of it, the good old printer here, and you put a copy in their folder. So when they come back, I pull their folder like a doctor. I pull your folder, and you open your folder up. Okay, last time you were here, here's what the reading was. What are we going to do this time?
Yeah.
And it really, one, it impresses the heck out of your clients because they're like, wow, she keeps a folder and everything. Especially now, if you do it as a one shot wonder, you don't worry about it. But if you're building
A
your
regular.
clientele, you're building your people to come up, you have their folder and you can read, because sometimes they'll want a yes or no, or sometimes they want an in-depth
Yeah.
reading. Sometimes they just want a quick 10-minute reading. And
Mhm.
if they have that, they can look at it and refresh, because they will write on it their question when they take it away from me, because I
Right.
don't want to know which, you shuffle the cards. I don't want to know nothing. You just sit there. The other thing I caution all my new readers with, and this is something that you almost can't help. I was taught to read with my back to the person I'm reading. So I didn't read the person. I
Mm.
read the card
Yeah.
because I can't see them.
I've noticed that when I read, I definitely don't have my back turned because I've never heard of that, but I have I I notice when I'm doing a reading, I almost never look at them. I
Right.
almost never make eye contact with them because I'm just so super focused, lasered in on on and looking at everything, and yeah, so that makes sense.
There was a large population of readers in Baltimore at one time, and they were not reading the cards. They would
Reading.
say the card, oh, the Wheel of Fortune, and watch you to see your reaction.
Yeah, and see if you're like, I don't know. Then they'll like change their story.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, it
and that is,
could be, it might be.
and the thing
Um,
is, you do have to be careful about that. If you're
yeah.
going to people that do readings, the
Well,
person with the neon psychic sign in the window. You
yes,
yeah,
$5 readings. Yes. I
right, right.
only caution that because a lot of new readers are so excited about reading, and we know that. And you
Yes,
look to see confirmation from the person. That's what you're looking for as a new reader. As
right.
an experienced reader, I really don't care.
Yeah, no.
Giving me your energy on my cards.
Yep.
I'm
And
good.
you brought up a really good point. When clients tell you, nope, that doesn't make sense. I don't know what you're talking about. I had someone who was very adamant about, nope, she had like she had gone through a bad divorce and written off men, and I saw a meeting, and it was an acquaintance, and I'm like, there's something, and again, it's not me. And even if it doesn't make sense to them right now, it will at some point, unless, now keep in mind, we all have free will, things can change, the universe can, so there is a caveat to that. Don't go to a tarot reader like a therapist, because that's when it's drawing the line. Some people depend on those readings to live their life. That,
Yeah, to function. That's
yes, that's
very
not good.
good.
Um, but yeah, so I wanted to touch on that because there's so many different things, and everyone has different ways of doing it, and they're not. wrong necessarily, but definitely do your research before you have a reading. Ask people their credentials and things like that.
The main thing is if someone is reading your cards, oh my goodness, this is my old. This is you probably can't see. Oh, it's that old. It actually you can almost see it. It's the
Oh.
cross.
See, at first I thought it was just a plain black
I know
ulcer.
it's the Celtic Cross.
That's cool. Yeah, and
So
that's one of the most common. And you can even go on Amazon. They have like a little poster that has a little card layout, and you can just pop the cards on there. I mean, there's so many tools out there if you want to start getting into this. There's so
when
many
we
books.
were at Casadega, I bought a couple of what they call the cheat sheets. They're laminated and you can flip them and it's got them all on there. They're over on my shelf. But I do caution a lot of readers about there are, of course, those out there that are preying on you.
Yes,
Um,
unfortunately.
find out who your readers are. Ask them. Ask around. People who frequent readings can tell you who can read and who can't. It's very clear. Oh
I
yeah,
got one too.
yeah. We
Look,
had too much fun at Casadega.
Celtic Cross.
There you go. I
And it,
is
yeah,
on the back of that. Did it have what the cards are? Does it give you a cheat sheet?
yep.
There you go. If
And
you're learning, there is nothing wrong with that.
no, not at all.
It gives
And
you a basic.
yeah, it does. And it will tell you, then there's also a little bonus spread, the Astro Wheel spread.
There you.
And
I'm
it even
telling you,
tells you like home base, personal creativity, like sports, pastime. I mean, there's a 7 card spread. I didn't even realize they have a couple spreads on here. A 7 card spread down here, and then down here is the Elemental Cross. Um, and it gives you like, okay, so it doesn't just say like for number 8, your environment. Okay, but it doesn't just stop at that. It gives you a little blurb. Your home, your surroundings, family, loves, friends, work, that which is outside of yourself, how others perceive you. So it gives you like a little bit more to go on so that when you get your card, it's easier for you to read because you're like, okay, well, this is supposed to represent my, how others perceive me,
right.
So that will help you learn too. And even this, cards 1 and 2, which is in the middle, and for the Celtic Cross, you lay 1 card this way and
And
another card across. And it says cards 1 and 2 give the essence of the whole reading, what your inner self wants to know, the reading's theme. And then basically the others are adding on to that. But these are great. And I even got there's another little one that I got that has the little of the cards.
That's the one. I picked up that one too. We spent
This one has the actual images, and going back to Rider Waite being the one to learn from, all of these little images are Rider Waite images.
and that's really great because those little things like those cards, the sheets we got were not that expensive.
Oh,
They
I forgot to take they're $7.99.
$7.90. I was going to say they were under $10.
And this one we're saving for next week.
Oh, that's the runes. Yes.
Yes.
There were a lot of forms of divination. Tarot is probably the most popular. Now, you're going to hear everybody pronounce it differently. Is there a correct way? Probably. But what's the difference between tomato and tomato?
Nothing.
There isn't. So, another set of cards which are really interesting, and I don't know that much about these, so I'm going to give you a heads up. Um, in Baltimore, there were 3 of us elders who would get together every month and we would do a teaching. And it was, we would meet before that, go over stuff, what we were going to teach for the next couple months, and then we would do it. Um, and Isis from Baltimore, and that's all I'm going to give, actually brought, these are Lenormand, and I'm going to spell it because I'm probably saying it wrong. It's Lenormand. It's 36 cards. They're very different. These are more of an oracle card. These have been around as long as playing cards. the oracle cards are a little bit different than tarot cards. Okay. So, but these are very old. These are from France. This is divination is very similar to tarot in the history and the purpose. It's about a 200-year-old system. This one is, and it's 36 cards. And I'm going to try, like some of them are made like the playing card.
Yeah. And that's how a lot of people started the divination, the fortune telling. They did those type of cards, and there's still people that read like that. I never learned how to read on the bicycle cards using the plain decks. I know that's more of an old school thing.
That's
I'm
very old school.
the only thing I use my bicycle cards for is poker and kicking my husband's ass in poker.
There you go. That works.
That's the only thing.
These were developed in the late 18th century. They're a little bit different because they're an oracle card. And the difference between, and this you're going to hear, and I know we're going to get calls on this one. There is a difference between oracle cards and tarot cards. The difference is how you perceive the cards. Because I hear all the time, oh, that's an oracle card. You can't read from that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to be the one that tells you there is a difference. Okay, they're not the same. There's a reason for that. A, an oracle card, and it can be done described differently, but in an oracle card, they're structured independently, and each follows its own set of rules. These are oracle cards. These are not tarot cards. So, and
One jumped out at you.
I know, and it was, believe it or not, 32 with the hearts. I'm going to have to look that one up and figure out what that one is. Uh, these cards, these, by the way, these are actually copywritten cards. So I purchased, the deck. Um, Lady Isis brought them, and we were playing with them that night and reading with them. I had never read this deck before, so it was very interesting for me. An oracle is an oracle card kind of oracle cards are usually easier because there's not as many cards. Okay, that's one big difference.
Mhm.
Your tarot deck has 78 cards, 52 of the minor arcana and the rest of the major. So you've got a hunk of cards. I have
Yeah.
very small deck. I have 36 cards.
Yes.
So
And
it's
some of yeah, and what in my opinion too, I think a big difference of how you can look at oracle cards and tarot is that a lot of times in the oracle cards, you'll have a basic theme or a message in that card. So with an oracle, there's not much interpreting involved. It's basically whatever card you pull, yes, you read it and then it's basically like, what does the universe want me to know? What is, or goddess or god, whatever spirit, whatever you use. Um, and then still they come with books. So read the books. They help.
This is an interesting deck. I absolutely love the artist. I knew the art. I know the artist, and I know the person who did the messages. So they're Baltimore based. Sorry, guys. Um, this is from Nine Ravens Studio, and Angela Raincatcher made these. She signed it for me.
Oh.
This is a chakra. So I'm just going to show you a couple, but you're going to see the difference. If you're going to read an oracle card, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Angela actually drew all of these. She has the huge paintings. She does big paintings.
Mhm.
This is the miniature of the painting. So this is your crown chakra. Everybody knows what color the crown chakra is, and you look at that. Um, let's see if I can find something. I love the third eye because it's really intuitive.
Oh, I love that.
So, an oracle card is you look at it, you think about what it is you're wanting to talk to the card about. These are the backs of the cards, they're very bright. And then you look at the card and see what it has for you. The third eye, this is an interesting card that she did because it has actually a woman's face here with eyes.
Mm-hmm. I like that a lot.
And of course, she has a book. And the book explains
Yes.
cards. Now, the messages, first of all, it describes the card and where it's at, the color, the location, where's your ancestral. Now, when you do the chakras, a lot of people do not do the ancestral part.
Right.
And that is under your feet, where your ancestors are, usually in the ground.
Ugh, I love.
And the affirmation has an affirmation. I am grounded in my body and supported by those who came before me.
Ooh,
Now, the person who did the writing in here is Katrina Messenger. The book is absolutely amazing. I love this deck. This I can't remember when she came out with it. I've had it for a couple years now, um, but she did come out with it a while back. She actually tells you how to use it in the back, how to use it.
mm-hmm.
Um, she gives you the card, the information, and also it's a really great deck. Any oracle deck is great, but an oracle is good for a one hit.
One and done.
That's it.
Sometimes you can put a couple just like with tarot, and that's another thing I wanted to say. The Just because you're doing a spread, you can always put cards on top of it. A lot of times I will do that in a reading. If something's not coming in quite clear, or I want to expound, or I want more information, I'll lay another card down, and it always coincides. There's always a theme that always winds up being in the spread, and you're like, oh, and that's another thing you can talk to, not only the symbolism in each individual card, but the main theme that shows up. Like if you have a ton of pentacles in your reading, that usually means money. I mean, if you have a lot of one suit is also going to mean something. A lot of one
Right.
color.
Anything that's heavy.
Yes. And
It.
I have some, this is the Native Spirit Oracle deck. And, I'm big on my animal medicine, and this is the same thing. Some of them are animal, like eagle medicine, but then they have things like the medicine woman or medicine man, and the prayer feather, and I like this offerings with Stonehenge, and
That's
like nature spirit. So you can see, like, this isn't even so much a message, but you can go back to the book and see what it expounds on. You can still, what it looks like to you, how it makes you feel, but that book really helps. Now, one of my favorite decks is actually a children's oracle deck that I have always, Haley has been reading it since she was little, and Fiona reads it now, and it's the Children's Spirit Animal Cards
oh, how
by
adorable.
Stephen D. Farmer. And we will always pull these cards before school or when we start our day. And how I do it with the kids is I just spread them all out and let them shuffle it by mixing it around. And then and then we'll fan them out, and they'll kind of put their hand over, and whenever they feel that heat, that's the card they'll pick. But these ones are so awesome for anyone, but especially for young kids. But like the elephant, you can overcome any problem. So they're really uplifting. Like the bear, stand up for yourself. So they're appropriate. Or like the unicorn, use your imagination. So I just love these. Or the buffalo, be thankful for what you have. Fox, do secret favors for others. And the illustrations are so pretty.
That would be an excellent deck to start a child reading because it
Yes.
captures the imagination. It already says on the card what it is, so they don't have to, again, go to a book or try to figure it out. Um,
Right.
and as they progress in reading, then especially
And
for a
like
younger
the
child.
swan, especially for young girls, you are beautiful just as you are. Or of boys, of course. You know what I mean. I have girls, so I'm sorry. A lot of times I have girl brain. Um, 3 girls. But like rabbit, ask for help. Like I remember one time that, and that's the cover of the box and also the back of the card. But I remember one time Haley was having trouble with a test and like in school, and this card came up, and I was like, you need to ask for help. You need to not be embarrassed and be afraid of getting made fun of. Ask your teacher for help. That's what they're there for. And that's exactly, and she didn't tell me that she was, struck, but I mean, Coyote, learn from your mistakes. I mean, there's lots of nice little lessons in here for the kids too.
And that's a
Uh,
great way too to go over the symbolism and start reading with them.
yeah, and like Turtle, take your time, like and look how pretty. Ooh,
Oh, it's a sea turtle. It's a terrapin. I
yes,
went to University of Maryland. Sorry. It's
my
a
clothes.
terrapin.
And even like and then this deck, the Power Animal Oracle, and then it has the book in there. But even like this has the little messages in here. So
Oh,
like Eagle, trust in your higher self. And
those oracle cards are great because that gives you a feeling of accomplishment when you read them. Because you're
yes.
getting the information, but you're also understanding. You start to understand the symbolism. An eagle, what does that symbolize? Where does that go? As your children get older, they can relate more to the symbolism. But the younger one, Fiona, probably just loves the little critters on it.
Oh my gosh, she loves it. And Haley did too. And what I like about this one too, so it has not only the animal, but it also has like a keyword and then a message. So like for antelope, it's decisiveness and make a decision and take appropriate action. So again, with Oracle, you're usually asking a one question, or you can even keep it general, like what does the universe want me to know? What do I need? What does goddess need to, smack me
What's
on the
for
head?
the egg?
Right, exactly.
Basically. But that's the difference. Your tarot, it goes in depth. It gives you the chance to expand upon the questions you're asking or the problem that you may have because it goes a little bit deeper. Your oracle cards are that one flip,
Yeah.
and they're really good to focus on. If you notice, a lot of the oracle cards are great for imagery. You can focus on what
Yes.
you see and see what's in the picture.
Right.
So
It's more about an image or a picture and not as much about symbolism, because in tarot you're not going to have words and messages. It's just imagery. It's just symbolism. It's, reading
right.
the
But the
picture.
oracles, you ask that one, you got one thing on your mind today,
Right. Yep.
or test, or work. And
Hmm.
it's a one shot wonder, is what I like to call them, one shot wonders, because that's what they are. It's a one card,
It
one
really
shot,
is.
and you move on from there.
And back to your point, like this is 44 cards in this Oracle deck. The kids one is perfect because it's 24. So it's not like overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it's ages 6 and above. I think I started reading these, or I mean, you could read them way earlier, but recommended. And they have Oracle decks for everyone, just like tarot. Like one of my favorite decks, the Rebel deck.
Oh, there you
This this has profanity and it's straight up in your face. There's no bones about it. It's like awesome. It'll tell you like to get the F off your ass and work out and get healthy, or something. It's totally it was like made for me. I was like, yes, cuss words and cutthroat in your face tough love. That's what
There
I
you go.
need.
But I want to encourage everybody, don't be afraid. You don't have to be a master.
No.
Um, on the Facebook has at least 50 or 60 tarot reading groups.
Yes.
Now, we're going to get real down and dirty. There are two associations that you can tarot read and test to get approved. It's the American Tarot Association or
Mhm.
Tarosophilie in Europe. You are tested. Once you are tested, and they have teachers that actually come out and test you, you can be awarded a certificate for it.
Yeah.
I got American, I got AMA, American ATA, actually American Tarot Association. I got mine and my Tarosophilie about 15 years ago. I finally decided to get my certifications. You can get them anywhere. There's, like I said, 50 or 60 Facebook groups just on tarot reading. You can
Yes.
go as deep as you want to, or you can be a casual reader.
Yes.
I used to read for extra money, that all the time.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's
I
nothing
mean,
for me. I could make a couple $100 a week.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
Not
And
so much anymore.
no, yeah.
Mark's
And
a little different. That's the other thing. I really want to caution you if you're going to do this as a business, and I am all for pagan businesses. You will hear me say, do not read for free. Um, you will want to check the laws in your local counties and cities before you
yes,
go to your state. Your state may not have a law against it, but as you go down to county to city, they can make stricter laws.
very true. Well,
And I know for a fact because I ran into a law issue in Maryland, which I did not know at the time. So I caution everybody if you are going to read, like in the state of Florida, you have to have up it's for entertainment purposes only. If you
hmm,
read. The state of
yeah.
Maryland, you do not, but you can't read in every county in the state of Maryland and get paid for it.
Yeah, you definitely have to, like I said, with anything, like Pam and I always say, check, do your research, like the herbs that we talk about, research, research, research. A good book to start on that for tarot is called The 78 Wisdoms of Tarot, I think. I'm pretty sure. 78 degrees. No, I'm sorry. 78 degrees of wisdom is what it's called. And it gives a good breakdown. Now, another really good book is by Lady Stephanie Neal, A Discovery of Tarot. She, if you're Corellian, there is a door program for that. You can go on the Corellian website and or you can just read the book, but there is a whole training intensive thing that you can do as well. So it's really, there's so much out there. There's so much information. I mean, and like you said, don't be scared. It does take practice, just like with everything. You need to ground and clear and charge and practice, because that's how you're going to hone that intuition and that psychic, sense.
And
So,
we have a full moon coming up in about 2 weeks.
mhm.
Charge your cards.
Yes.
We want
Oh
to be going
gosh, yes.
somewhere.
The moon is the
Charge
best,
it.
yes. Or even if you can't get to the moon, well, of course you can get to the moon, but you know what I mean. If it's not visible, like for example, the way my porch is facing, I almost never see the moon from my porch unless it's like early. But always do your research. You can charge under the moon. You can charge in a bag. You can get one of these little baggies and put some sage in here. You can run them through around a salt lamp. You can do there's all sorts of different
There's
things you can
all
do.
sorts of ways. The only question I get asked a lot, and it's usually by my students, when I hand a deck for someone to read, if I'm reading for you, I 3 times and then I hand you, it kind of knocks the energy off from anybody else. I will
Yes.
ask them to tap it 3 times to knock my energy off. Now it's their energy alone on it. They hand it back to me. I'm reading their energy.
Right.
A lot of people don't do that. It's kind of like doing Reiki and not cutting, not,
Yeah.
and you can end up with some issues because
Yeah.
the
I
readings
always
aren't as
do.
clear.
Yeah, I always do. I've always done the knock 3 times. There's all sorts of different. I mean, if you look it up, there's all different ones.
It's all different ones. The easiest
And
one to remember is 1, 2, 3. Hand it to them. They do 1, 2, 3. They shuffle. They hand it back, and you lay them out.
yeah, and like with a lot of things, it's going to be how you want to do it. Some people will not let other people, clients, querents touch their cards. They will be the one to shuffle. They will be, they'll get their energy other ways just from,
The person being there.
right.
I like to have people more involved because
Hmm.
it's your reading, so you're gonna work for it. You're gonna
Yeah.
shuffle the cards. You're gonna think about it, and
Mhm.
people tend, if they've got them in their hand, they really tend to focus a little bit more
They
because they're
do.
doing this and they're thinking about what they're going to ask and they're shuffling and they're
And
thinking.
that's what I'll say. Shuffle the card. Here's the cards. I'll knock. Here's the cards, and think of what you want. Think about what you're wanting to know or why you came here, what you want, and shuffle the cards because
Right.
it does help them focus more and not have squirrel brain, but also it's putting their intention into the deck.
Right. They're putting that heavy intention in because now they're really focused because they're holding it in their hand.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Usually they're looking at the back. So they're looking at a nice little pattern on the back and they're thinking about this as they're doing it. So they're putting so much more energy in it than if they're sitting across the table from you and you're shuffling. They're like, yeah, I'm trying to think about, and they're probably wandering around to what's in your house, what's on the
Right.
floor. That's human nature. You're not going to change that. So really think about how you want to do it. What a lot of fun is when you get a group of witches together and everybody whips out their tarot cards,
Yes.
and you start reading for everybody. Everybody reads for everybody. That's kind of a
Yeah,
fun thing to do.
it
Do
is.
not ever get intimidated by somebody who's got years and years of experience because in this field, I'm going to tell you, anybody can learn the cards. Not everybody has the intuition to read the cards. There's a big difference. You can learn the card or you can read the card.
Yes.
So, and not everybody can. So, just
Mhm.
if it feels right to you, say it. Like Mylinda was saying, she kept telling this woman, "This is what I feel," and she's like, "No, you're crazy." Well, she wasn't as crazy as
Yeah,
she thought she
that
was.
that's the thing. And also, if it doesn't make sense to you, you're the vessel. You're not the one. I mean, yes, you're giving the reading, but you're not giving the reading. It's the energy coming through, it's the intuition. So, like for example, and everyone reads differently, but me for example, I it sort of is like I don't some people are like clairsentient, claircognizant. They see images or they'll hear something. For me, it's sort of like a thought bubble with a picture. Like I have symbols for certain things. Like if I have a antique doll, that's going to be my symbol for antique or something old. Um, and go with what you're getting. Like one time I got an image of a man, and he was really dirty, like black all over him. And I was like, he looks like a car mechanic. Like that's what it looked like to me. And I'm like, he's dirty, blue collar, all this. Well, it wasn't a car mechanic. What it was he was a coal miner.
Oh, there you go.
So say what you're getting because it might not make sense to you, but it might make sense to that querent. So don't try to pick it apart and don't think about it because at a certain point, it'll stop being your intuition and it'll be you. And that is big no. You do not want that.
Don't overthink the situation. That's why it's great when I write it down for people because I'm writing and I don't
Right.
have time to think of anything because I'm trying to remember what popped into my head. So I'm
Exactly.
writing quickly. That is one way to focus because you
Yes.
can't think of anything else but okay, I saw a guy wearing black, he had on a short dress, whatever. You're writing it down so you're remembering, you're not putting anything else into your brain. You're just remembering that picture and drawing it basically because you're writing it down.
And you'll hear all sorts of different rules with tarot. It's really what you make it. Some people won't read people that they know because they feel like they're too close to them and they don't want that outside influence. Some people have no problem reading.
And
There's
then you
no
get people who are
rules.
afraid to read for themselves.
Yes. There's no rules. Now, I would say, and I think I read a vlog, I watched a vlog that Lord Don did a while back ago about tarot. And he did mention that it's good to get a handle on and practice and things like that before you read for yourself. It's good to, because you do know yourself so well, or like you said, you want the outcome to be something in particular. You don't want that slap in the face. And let me tell you, tarot is good for slaps in the face. Like it does not, that's not the point because, and going back to shadow work, it's going to tell you what you need to work on, what the situation is, and you just have to face it. And there's not necessarily rules to tarot, but there are ethics. There are ethics. You should not ever be talking about, like what I'm saying now, I'm not using names, I'm using examples of, past. You do not ever talk about a reading. You don't disclose that as far, like with people's names. It's confidentiality, just like, with anything else. So there are ethics for sure, not necessarily rules. You can either shuffle the cards or have them shuffle the cards. You can, things like that. Have them gifted, believe you have to have them gifted or not. That type of stuff does not matter, but there is definitely
And
ethics.
there are definitely ethics with any time you're doing this. Now, if you're doing this professionally, and when I say professionally, I mean you're getting paid to do this. It makes you a
Yes.
professional. Now you've got to up your game because now you're a professional. You're not sitting, around your girlfriend's house with a bunch of you with a couple bottles of wine out reading tarot. You are doing this professionally. Always remember that. Take
Yes.
yourself professional. Think of yourself as a professional. Now, I used to do readings, especially around Samhain.
Mhm.
A lot of there's different pubs and all in Baltimore that would ask for readers because it draws people in. Let's be
Yeah.
honest, that was the
Right.
whole point.
Hmm.
But they would give you a little area, and you sit there and you read for people. You make money. Most of them did not charge because
Yeah.
you were there. They might give you a beer.
You're
They're
right.
not paying you
Yeah.
really. But they might give you. I know most of the places I worked would give you 2 or 3 beers. Um, you read, people came in, you got to keep the money. That was all. But they would put your picture out front or whatever, tarot reader, that kind of thing. And it was good advertisement for them. They're drawing a crowd because they have a reader. It's around Halloween, so you know what that means. Everybody wants their cards read. Doesn't matter who
Yep.
they are. The Pope wants his cards read at Halloween. So you have to now stop and think about who you are. If you're
Yes.
going to be a professional reader, then you better take yourself professionally. You better
Yes.
make sure that you watch your P's and Q's when you're doing it. Please don't, oh, you're going to die in 2 days.
Oh,
Please,
don't.
let's go beyond the theatrics. You're a
Yes.
professional. You treat yourself as such, and you treat your clientele the same way. You might not ever see those people again, but I have done the readings in the different pubs in Baltimore, and I've ended up with clients forever. You know,
Yeah.
2 or 3 years, they would come to me like once a month. So you might be building your business and not even
I
realize.
started I started reading for my herbalist. So it's like, you know, and and I did a reading with her family. And then, like I said, and everyone's different. Like for me, and I even put, if I'm reading professionally, my title that I give myself is intuitive tarot reader, because there's a difference between just someone that reads cards and someone that's heavily using. Now, of course, it's intuition no matter what, but when you're reading professionally, it makes a difference for your clients when they're looking you up or they want to see your credentials, what your style of, is. And there will be like psychic fair. I read at a psychic fair, at a tattoo shop. I mean, there's all little different sorts of things. I did readings at a metaphysical shop. We had like a day of readings, and so there's all different things that you can do. But you never ever tell anyone that they're going to die. You don't ever say, well, this is the number one thing I could say is, being a reader and reading tarot, you are not a fortune teller. And you will have people coming to you for that purpose. And that's why I said some people will rely on their readings to live their life. Like whatever their reading says, should I take this new job or not? I mean, yes, of course that's going to come up at times, but if you're going every week or every 2 weeks like clockwork, and that's how you're making your life decisions, that's not okay.
No.
It's not fortune telling. We are not predicting the future. Big point.
And I tell people when they come in and sit down for a reading, my reading is what is happening at this second. Second.
Hmm.
Because if you get up and you turn right or you turn left, you could change my reading. If you get up
Exactly.
out of your chair, depending on which way you turn, my reading might not be worth anything.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I was mentioning earlier the whole, not to sound biblical, but the whole free will thing. I mean, you can change the course of the reading. And that does not mean if they come back to you and say, my reading was wrong. Well, yeah, it's because instead of doing this, you did this. So it's like, duh, of course that's not going to happen. It's doesn't mean
If
you
you're
gave a
upfront with
wrong reading
people,
or a bad reading.
right, and you need to be upfront. You need to tell them that this is what they're saying at this second. It could change the minute you get up from the table. I've always been very upfront with my clients. Money matters are settled prior to the reading.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
If you charge, always have that up front.
have a sign what you charge. When I used to read, especially at Halloween, they were always $5 readings just because it's like a three card, boom, boom, boom. You know,
Right, right,
because you're at a place of business and the
right.
whole idea is not for you to sit there for 2 hours with one person. The whole idea is to get in as many as you can because everybody's wanting to come in to have their cards read because it's
Hmm.
selling.
Yeah, of
Let's
course.
be honest.
Yeah,
You know,
like that
it's a
type
lot
of.
of fun, and that's a great place to go. Is in a local pub. I call them pubs because they're not really bars. They usually serve food and have tables.
Right.
And,
Hmm.
it's a casual atmosphere where you can go in and you're very comfortable and you can
Yes.
read. The other thing I caution, and I do this because you're taking yourself seriously at Samhain, if I'm reading at Samhain, yes, I'm dressed classically as a reader or as a
Right.
witch, or
Mhm.
I'll talk to the owner.
Playing part.
Yeah, how would you like me dressed? I'm playing the part because of the
Right.
time of year it is. If
Hmm.
I'm going in to do readings professionally, or I have clients come to my house, I'm not in a suit, but I am dressed business casual.
Right. You're not in your tank top and flip flops.
Well, in
Right.
Florida, yeah, you got to wear flip flops. They're
Right.
my son to go to meet in flip flops.
Right.
Um,
Right.
that's the joke in Florida,
Your snazzier flip
my
flop.
snazzier ones. But you want to remember, your client is paying you money. It's a business transaction, but it's a professional transaction. Are you going to walk in? How are you going to feel about walking to your psychiatrist office and you
Right.
see your therapist dressed like, like she just came from the beach? It's
Right.
going to make you question, like, okay, I'm dressed, you should be dressed.
It's almost along the lines of I'm taking this seriously, but you're not. It's all in
Right.
how you present yourself.
And you have to, if you're going to do this for a business, you are now a business person. You
Hmm.
are now providing a service to somebody. So I always caution to have fun. If it's at a psychic fair, if it's at Samhain, if it's at Pagan Pride, if it's at something fun, then yes, go for it. I mean, come out with the most outlandish outfit you can. Because trust me, if it's a psychic fair, there's probably 20 other readers there. So you're going to want to stand out to get someone from the crowd anyway.
Exactly.
But if you're doing this as a client based business, then you need to treat it as such. So I just caution people because I've seen so many gifted readers
Hmm.
who did not take themselves seriously and they could have made their living reading
Yeah.
cards. They were this good. And nobody would come to them because they would not take, they'd show up in a pair of jeans or a pair of flip flops, cutoffs, and a tank top. And it's
Right.
like, dude, where are you going to the beach? You're going
Exactly.
to a client's house to read, or they're coming to your house.
Hmm.
Um, you might want to dress yourself up a little bit. If you're reading in a store, you want to dress like the rest of the employees. If they're all in khakis and a shirt or they're business casual, then you dress that. If they're in jeans and t-shirts, because some of the stores are, I mean, we wear
Yeah.
t-shirts,
Yeah.
um,
Sure.
you're going to want to wear something like that. Look at what
Just
you're
work
doing.
with the Yeah, just work with the store owner and see what the thing is, but don't be coming in like ripped jeans or Daisy Dukes or anything. Nobody wants to read. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
you want to treat yourself as a professional.
yeah,
um, Set your limits, set your boundaries. How long
yeah.
are you going to do a reading? What are you charging for it? Set that up.
Because you
If
are using energy, it can be very
I was
draining.
just going to say, if you do this, go to a professional and watch them. They only do so many readings a day because it, let me tell you, when we did them at Samhain in the pubs in Baltimore, I mean, you would do, that's why you only did a 3 card reading.
Yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
actually had a line and you're trying to read and get the next one in and read because you don't want your people standing there waiting forever. But
Right.
you also have to watch your energy level. The reason I would have something to drink or something to munch, something small like chips or something to keep myself grounded.
Oh yeah.
How much
Drink your
energy
water.
do you think you're getting from all of these people? You're, especially if you're an empath, you're picking up on all of this other stuff. For you to stay grounded is very important. Have you something to drink? You're talking to the people. You need
Yes.
to refresh yourself. You need to maybe have a little bit of munch or nosh just to keep
Yeah.
your levels, your sugar levels going.
Mhm.
And you want to ground. You don't want to spend, you don't want to be bouncing off the walls after 10
Right.
readings.
And you also don't want to be like eating nachos and get, you know what I mean? Like use common sense, like, club crackers or something in a bottle of water. And yeah, and also if you do start reading professionally and you're setting your fees and things like that, like a Celtic Cross spread is going to be like usually standard or a 3 card spread. You're not going to charge as much as, for example, a Tree of Life spread that has over 40 cards and takes at least an hour. I mean, you just, you know, it's okay to have
And
different.
normally, when you go read professionally, you have 3 or 4 readings. And I used to love to have them drawn out and sitting in
Yes.
front of the people. Which one
And
do
let
you,
them
with the
pick.
price on them? Don't
Yeah.
be afraid to show your
I
price.
had that in my binder. I used to bring my binder and I had like over 20 spreads and I'm like, what are you looking for? I
I
mean,
usually, if I'm reading for like in a pub type
oh
situation,
yeah,
uh,
then you want to have fewer choices
you
because
have
you'll be there
three
all
or
night.
four choices. You have the price at the top, cheap, medium range, not real high because you want to keep these people going through. But
Right,
the
right.
other thing you want to do is let them know that if you want a more in depth reading, have your business
Business
card.
card.
I'm
Yes.
telling you, Vistaprint can do an awesome job. I wish I had one of my cards sitting here. They're all over there.
Mine are over there too. I
Mine
don't
are
have
over
to make them.
there. But we had some cards made up from Vistaprint. It's
We did.
$15 for 100 cards or 150 cards, whatever. The $15 is well worth it. You can get some beautiful cards made up. You can hand them out to people. Um, I everybody's like, you come up with Madam Zelda, whatever you want to call yourself, make it somewhat normal. Because remember, these people are business people.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
they do work for a living like you do. I'm an accountant, okay? So when I go in for a reading, I expect a certain decorum from my reader
Hmm.
because I'm a business person. I know
Right.
what it costs to run a business. So you want to make sure that your clientele is well taken care of. Again, respecting the client. Um, if you're doing it in your home or at a metaphysical store, something like that, you have a lot more leniency. You can work things. I used to love to do the pubs and stuff like that around Samhain because I have fun with that. That for
Yeah.
me was fun. I paced myself. People loved it. I did quick readings. Depending on which pub I was at, they could be a little off color or,
Right.
but you have a lot of fun with it.
And you can adapt. Yeah, you can adapt to the environment and be more lax. Still being professional, find that fine line.
But
But
you're having fun with it and they know you're having fun with it because
yeah.
when you do it at Samhain, it is because people are doing it because, oh, it's a fun thing to do, let's go get our cards read.
Yeah,
um,
totally.
if you're doing it professionally at your home or at a client's home, now it's a whole different situation. You have to
Yeah,
be much more professional at that point.
exactly.
When I do it at the local pubs or whatever, I just take an old set of cards that you don't mind if they get messed up because goodness knows they'll get a beer spilled on them or knocked on the floor or whatever. You don't take your oh my god card read with you. You take something
Right.
that you can. Usually I'll take a Rider-Waite deck, or if I find something funny, a unicorn deck, depending on the crowd you're working with. But always remember, have fun with it. Enjoy what you're doing. Don't make it a job.
And some decks, I have this is the Mood deck
Ooh,
signed by the person. Now, this one, it says a disgustingly relatable tarot deck. So, again, kind of like the Rebel deck, not as like vulgar as far as the cussing, but it's still in your face. The reason why I was bringing these up is because, to your point, these are waterproof.
yes.
They are waterproof. And what she did is she took the original Rider-Waite and she put like little thought bubbles and named them different things. So instead of like well, I'm not going to read that one.
Ooh, that must be a good one. We'll read that one afterward.
Yeah. But I mean, just ridiculousness. I mean, it's just a fun deck. I wound up getting one of these for Miranda, but like the Four of Cups. So you have like the Four of Cups, and then the bubble says, "I already have three damn crybabies. Get that thing away from me." So it's just it's a fun deck. But these are waterproof, and she actually the same person came out. She actually has a children's book that's not vulgar or raunchy. And then she actually came out with a deck for kids. It's called the Young Witch Tarot. And what it is it has these cards, and it'll have a explanation, sort of like on our little cheat sheet, but it has like a little cheat sheet at the bottom, but it's simplified and relatable so that the kids can. It's a good learning deck, and I got it for Haley, and it's appropriate, of course. It's made for kids, but it's like. Yeah, okay. I mean, this is okay. So, Five of Cups, like, and then it says, "Oh my God, you guys, I suck." And then in the back, it says "empowered women" up there. And then it says, "Dude, let's go to the strip club." Okay. So it's just like,
It's a fun deck. Now,
it is.
if you want to start, I recommend people working in pairs
Yes.
because you can read for each other, you can make silly stuff, and you don't feel quite so vulnerable because you're reading
Right.
with a friend. So I recommend if you get a buddy, take a couple classes, go online, take classes, whatever, but have someone you could read with and have fun with. Then find somebody in your group or in your tribe, as I like to say, who's experienced and ask an opinion.
Yes.
Most older readers, like myself, are okay, read my cards and we're going to be open and we're going to see what you're doing wrong or not doing right. And it's suggestive helps. Just little things that you do, when you lay your cards down, you lay them flat, uh, don't do what some people do is they bend the cards when they're pulling them up, keep your
Oh
cards
my God.
in good shape. Um,
Yes.
just little things. But if you read with a friend and you're learning, you will find others who are more than willing to give you a little help. Now, on the same token, this person, like myself, has spent 40 years. I've been reading for over 40 years. I put a lot of thought into my card reading. So
Yes.
I will help you. I will critique you. If you want me to teach you, it's going to cost you.
Mm-hmm.
I am not afraid of that because just like anything else, you want me to do your taxes for you, which my
Right.
goodness, my phone does not stop ringing.
Ugh.
You get charged.
Right.
I'm the one who has spent the last 45 years doing taxes. I've
Mm-hmm.
had to learn all this crap. You're going to pay me for it. And make no bones about it. You are learning an art. You are learning a trade. You're going
Yes.
to take that trade. Whether or not you decide to make money off of it is entirely up to you. But it's just like an artist. You go to art school or you take an art class, you're paying for the knowledge of the instructor and for the instructor to help you move along. Now, whether you become an artist, that's up to you.
Right.
But you're taking up the valuable time that that person has. So if you're going to really seriously look at it as a business prospect, it can be, and you can make quite a bit of extra money on the side.
Yeah, absolutely.
Set your time.
But yeah, and yes, but make sure that you're doing it because you love to do it and you have a passion for reading. Don't do it if you're doing it just to make extra cash, but you're not involved in the reading or the process and you're not learning. Don't
You're
do
not
that.
going to have a repeat customer, I'll tell you that, because they can pick it right up.
Yeah, because
Have fun with it.
then you're one of the psychic neon window signs.
Yes, the ones that psychic $5 readings,
Right.
spiritualist, whatever. Not
That
that
has
they're
like
bad
the
or wrong, but it's
no,
just if you're going to do it, take pride in what you do. Have
exactly.
fun with it. I have fun in accounting. I mean, we do crazy stuff, but remember and always be very respectful. You
Yes,
have a gift. It's up to you how you use it.
exactly.
It is a gift to read the cards because it's intuitive. You have to be able to read it, to pick up that energy, to understand the symbolism. You're going to
Exactly.
spend some time doing it,
Yes.
but it's a lot of fun. And now that they got the cards out for the kids, that is the most awesome thing in the world.
It's amazing.
It's hard for a child to read a Rider Waite deck, mainly because they don't understand 90% of the symbolism. Let's be
Yeah.
really honest.
And
It's
like with the young
complex.
witch, I meant to grab it. It's way over there though. Like with the young witch deck, it is the traditional deck, as I said, and it gives the synopsis of basically what that card represents. So you can also expound on that and teach them about the symbolism. It does come with a book, so they have that as well. But she did a really good job at, her name's Natalie Meraki. I'm not sure if I'm Meraki. She has a really awesome Facebook group too. But the it's a good start. It's a good start. It gives them the basic to learn off the card, and then you can always expound on it. But yeah, it's really amazing things that they're coming out with for kids now. I mean, pagan books, pagan beds. I've just bought Fiona a pagan nursery rhyme book that just came out by JC Artissima. I always say her name wrong, but I mean, it's really good for if you have that going on.
But
It's
there's
great.
nothing wrong with reading the cards and enjoying it. I'm telling you, I'm listening about these kids' decks. I'm half tempted to go get one for myself. There's
I love
nothing
them.
wrong with you starting out with that kind of deck. If
No,
that is the help that you need, then do it. There's no cut and dry other than ethics. And
exactly.
that's with any magic.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to tell you anything different. There's a whole thing on ethics, and I'm right there because at the end of the day, the only thing a witch has is her integrity.
Yes.
So when you think about it that way, just remember that's what you're going for. But
Well,
have
and
fun with it.
yeah, and like you had mentioned once a while ago, what if you're the only witch that anyone ever comes across in their life, or the only Wiccan or the only pagan? Do you really want, I mean, we have all the stuff being, that Hollywood has done. It's like we already have the fight of no, we're not devil worshiping baby sacrifice. Like make sure you represent yourself well because you may be the only witch, pagan, Wiccan, heathen, voodoo priestess that anyone comes across. So it's important to get your message across about, not only what you do, but to break the stigma, break stereotypes. Hey, we're doctors, lawyers, bankers, accountants, nurse, just like anybody else. We're not bad. It's a recognized religion. So, and this is one of the main big, huge divination tools, but there are so many. Next week, we're going to be going into rune magic and tea leaf reading. So that is going to be fun.
I'm going to tell you, you can make your own deck.
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
I actually, for my second degree, way back in the dark ages, I did a tarot deck out of the Corellian alphabet. And Jason has it. I have to get my deck back from him. But It was a project I did because second degree is divination in our tradition. So I made a divination tool and I made a tarot deck. It was like, wow, I can do this.
Yeah.
Um, and my mentor, Ing, approved it. So I did make a deck, and it was interesting. You can read with it, and
Yeah.
we've had a blast with having fun with that deck because it's unusual in that.
Yes.
But I do want to
I have.
caution you that if
I,
you're doing it, if
mm,
you're going to make your own, you're going to have to make a legitimate.
yeah.
You know, look at some of the other decks. There are people out there now making decks. What every day there's a different tarot deck out on the
There's
market.
a Labyrinth deck coming out in July. I have it on pre-order. It's one of
Oh,
my favorite movies. 1987, David Bowie, Jennifer Connelly. Come on, what's not to love? Jim Henson. I mean,
Henson, they got me right there, Jim Henson. I've always loved Kermit. But have fun with it, enjoy it, work on it. And
mhm.
there are so many groups you can join that will help you learn. But my thing is, anybody that has a hard and fast rule, unless it's an ethic or something along that line, there really aren't any with tarot. You can read it however you want to.
Right.
Follow your own intuition on that because you're the reader. You're
Yeah, and what's right for someone else may not be right for you. Like a lot of people read in reverse. I just don't. I think I may with that new deck. I may because for me it's a whole other image in and of itself. So it's like you're reading it right side up, but the meaning is still what the reverse meaning would be. So that to me, because I'm a reader that reads the card and the imagery and the symbolism, that I could do, but taking just looking at an upside down thing that doesn't resonate with me. But it may with some, and like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. So
and read what you want. I mean, and really, I recommend you buy your own cards, feel them, touch them, look at them, see if they talk to you. Um, my second granddaughter, I have to go by ages. Um, my second one, Brianna, was she walks in and the first thing she does is she beelines. Now she's in her late 20s, so she beelines right for the tarot jacks and she
oh
just
yeah,
starts touching like she did when she was little. It's so funny to watch her now. I just sit there and giggle, but it's the touch, the feel, what
oh yeah.
is calling to me. Um, there is nothing wrong with that. There are a lot of decks out there now that are really beautiful. Oh my
Oh my
gosh.
gosh. Yes. I
The
mean, a lot of
artwork.
times that's why I buy the, like the Light Seer. That's why I get these. Or like, the Guardian of the Night. Like they're different, but the imagery is just, Five of Pentacles. I mean, it's beautiful.
And what
But
happens? You start collecting.
yeah, yes.
Yeah. And
I have,
that's dangerous right
I
there.
have a whole huge duffel bag, and not even all of my cards are in that duffel bag.
I
I hold
know that's
the books in the closet.
on my shelves and people come in and I was like, oh, I got to put everything away. Um, but really, reading it can be a lot of fun. You can have a lot of fun with it. I know when we get together in groups, I can't tell you how many illustrations we've been to, and everybody whips out their cards.
Oh yeah, for
Someone's
sure.
whipping out cards. And when you're in a group environment like that, you're reading, you're having fun with the group. It's intergroup. Uh,
Yes.
when I talk about getting paid for doing it, it's when you're doing it as a business. If you
Individual.
don't ever plan to do it as a business and you just love reading just for the fun of it, just read.
Perfectly fine.
It's
Yeah,
perfect.
and I actually have a deck in the works that I'm creating.
Ooh.
I'm in the early, early stages, so I'm excited. And Jason said he will help me get it published, so I'm excited.
I
But
think Jason is doing with mine. I'm going to have to talk to him and find out. But
yeah.
do read, do look. The Corellian traditions, they're going to add to this. Um,
Oh yeah, I think there's supposed to be like expansions or something.
yes, it's supposed, now
I'm
it
not a
does
hundred
come
percent
with a
sure.
book,
Yeah. Yes.
139-page book.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
I was like, you're kidding me, right? The artwork on these are absolutely just
It's
beautiful.
Lord Dawn though, so I'm sure the book is like very eloquent and very,
It's
it's like
beautiful. I have it all. It's a larger deck. Have fun with it. You can pull out
yeah.
the other decks, the other suits, and just read with the 78, or you can try all of them. My hands are not big enough to hold it. That was my only
I
problem. I'm like, and he's
You
going to
have
put
to
her in
like
there. I mean,
cut the deck in half and shuffle one half.
and then shuffle because this is sizable. You don't realize how big it is till you start to shuffle and you start working with it. And it's like, holy cow, it's like 4 decks. Um,
Yes.
but again, the ethics issue, I really push on that. And I really push on that you need to check your local municipalities for the legalities of doing your readings.
Yes.
It's
You
just
do
like,
not want to get popped for doing a little old reading. It's
yeah.
like,
Well,
no.
we had an incident where we were doing a reading at a bookstore and we did not know that the county, now
Yeah.
I lived in Maryland most of my life, but the county that we were in, and even the bookstore owner didn't know that, you were not allowed to do divination and money exchange hands.
Mm.
So I got 7 readers. We're sitting there in front of all the tarot decks, and the sheriff is sitting there watching us.
Oh,
We had to do tickets. So they paid inside and then came over to us
they
and
paid at the cash register.
because
Right.
money did not exchange our hands. But I never thought to read
I
because
would not have ever thought of that
I'm
either.
I've read in Maryland and I never ever had to go. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So again, look at the laws in your neighborhood if you're going to do this. Check out what you can and cannot do. If you need to get a license, get yourself a license. Just
Hmm.
follow the steps. We don't want to make waves. And I mean, nowadays you can say you're a witch and no one's going to, try and light you on fire or any of that good stuff.
Right.
But you still don't want to give us a bad name.
Right.
So
Ex-
check out the laws. Make sure you're legal to do it. Um, make sure that you can do it. Again, if you give lousy readings, it's going to get told quickly.
Yeah.
If you're not professional, everybody's going to find out really quickly.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth and people can just be wonderful,
Yes.
letting you know how bad they think you are, whether you are or not. But again, take it in stride, work on yourself, and just work with you. Do your daily readings, until you feel comfortable enough.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
get in the groups. Oh my gosh, the groups have so much fun. I'm involved in about 3 of them,
Yeah.
Facebook groups, and I get the
Me
stuff that
too.
comes up. And
Yeah, I am too.
some of
It's a
it's a
lot.
little intense.
Some of it, yeah. And you just like with anything else, you'll have the people that think, oh my gosh. So really quickly, because we do need to wrap up, but there in one of the groups, this woman had a really beautiful tattoo of, if you are familiar with the Three of Swords, we talked about it earlier. It's basically in the Rider Waite deck. It's a heart with 3 swords going through it. So it looks, and she had this tattoo on her back, I believe, like between her shoulders or something. It was really beautiful. So many people got on her. Why would you have that tattooed on you? That's such a negative card, blah, blah, blah. Well, it was about the struggle that she had went through and she had overcame it. So to her, that was a really powerful card and it represented a hard time that she got through in her life, is what she was explaining. But I was so disgusted. I mean, there were so many people. Like, why would you pick that card? And it's like, don't be that person. It's like,
And again, just with anything else, words of caution, just be careful. If you're reading in your home, be careful who you invite in. If
yes,
you're going to somebody else's home, be careful where you're going.
yes,
It's food for thought because you never know what's going on out there in somebody's mind. So just keep that in mind. And you're going to have those naysayers, and you're going to have those that are tell you that you're going to hell. And we have the get out of hell free cards. If you need one, let
I
us
had
know.
one. Thanks to Pam.
You need them, let us know. We'll make sure you get them. So it's a free get out of hell. So
Like,
actually,
literally, it's a free get out of hell card. It's a
it's
literal. It's like a
it's
tangible.
funny, but I've used the card
Yeah.
many times.
Yes.
The only other thing I do caution anybody who is doing magical work from their home, you always clear your people, but don't be afraid to put up your credentials.
Oh yeah.
If you notice, I have a wall full, and there's
Hmm.
a reason for that. Um, just like anybody who has a diploma from a college,
Hmm.
put it up. Well, why do I do that? Well, I worked hard for that. Trust me.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
you want to display what it is you do along with your credentials. This lets people know that you're not playing games. I started reading at home, and the very first thing a gentleman came in, I have a little office in my home, and he came in and sat down, and he's like reading my credentials, and he's like,
Hmm.
"Wow, you really do this?" And I'm
Right.
like, yeah, I do. I mean, that's why I'm doing this. But it was amazing to me that he took the time to look at all of my credentials and said, "Oh, well, you do this and you do that." And I'm like, "Yes, I do." So I ended up, not only did we have a card session, but he wanted a Reiki session. So we ended up with a
Nice.
Reiki session. So don't be afraid to display what it is that you do and your credentials, because it's very important for people to feel comfortable coming to you.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you need the credentials, but if you have them, put them on display.
Absolutely.
People walk in, you put your diploma on display, your college
Hmm.
diploma. There's no reason you can't have this is my holistic healthcare practitioner certification. I'm
Yeah.
certified as a holistic healthcare practitioner.
Yep.
So if there was ever a question, well, here's my certifications.
Yep, exactly. It's a really good thing. And like she said, it's not required, but if you do have them, it would not be a bad idea. And like she said, you work for them. Why not? Um,
Even if it's just your first degree certification, that means you took a year out of your life or longer, because it's a year and a day at least. I hate when oh, it's a year and a day at least. Sometimes it takes a lot longer.
4 years for my first degree. And
So
hell yeah, I worked hard for that. I'm printing that. There's nothing
up on the
for
wall.
exactly.
And
Exactly.
it's done for a reason. It's not being mean. It's just saying that yes, I put a year of my life, just like you're.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with taking pride in what you've accomplished. I mean, it's not about there's a fine line between ego and being proud of what you worked really hard for. It's not always big-headed ego. I'm all about titles. That's not what it's about. I mean, for some it is because some people have problems with their ego, but there's nothing wrong with if you go into a therapist's office or a psychiatrist's office. They have all their university things, a doctor's office. They have all their things back behind them. I mean, it's no different.
No, and I really do recommend that you, just like your college, I've got my University of Maryland up there. I worked hard for that. Yeah, I'm going to display, but I worked hard for my witch stuff. I think
Oh,
I worked twice as
yeah.
hard for my witch stuff as I did that. That was a
Yes.
4-year degree. This has been ongoing for over 50 years.
Right.
So we're not talking a little bit of time. Display your stuff, treat yourself as a professional. You will be a professional
Yes.
if that's your intention. And that's the hardest thing to figure out. Is that what you want to do?
Exactly. And you can meditate on it and pull a card for
Pull a
yourself.
card for yourself. I was going to say, do yourself a reading and see what you come up with. But please,
Exactly. Am I on the right path? Hmm.
yeah, just take your time with it, learn it, have fun with it, and go with
Practice,
it. If you
practice, practice.
practice, oh my goodness, I can't say that enough. And if you have kids, I can actually now say, I used to tell you, wait till they're a little bit older because that Rider Waite deck has so much in it. I mean, it's jam packed. Every card has a million symbols in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for the
Each one means a different thing.
right. And some of the children may not be old enough to understand some of the symbolism. Like, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
You
Or
know
it might be
what the
sensory
heart means.
overload and they can't, you know.
Well, a bleeding heart, we know what that is, a bleeding heart liberal. A 10-year-old does not know what a bleeding heart liberal is.
Right.
So now that they have the children's cards, boy, I recommend them 150%, even the oracle cards.
Yeah, they're really amazing. So it there's so much. I mean, honestly, we could go on. There's so much, but it's really awesome. They even have like a movie deck. There's so you can literally Google and you'll probably come up with a deck. Like you could just spit something in and they'll have neck.
My caution is do not drink and prawn because you will end up ordering 4 million tarot decks.
That brings up a good point, though, really quickly, because you should not read under the influence. Should not do that because
Again,
you need to be not only professional, but you also need to be clear-headed. You need to be that vessel for energy, spirit, whatever. You need to be clear so that you're getting clear images and messages intuitively, but you cannot be all like, I mean, if you're doing something fun with your girlfriends, that's different. But professionally, no, don't do, you should
just
not.
treat it like a job. Do you go to work? Well, I'm not going to ask that because some people do, but I'm saying if the normal practice is to not go to work under the influence.
Right.
But again,
it's about ethics.
And we're going to have a show on that, believe it or not.
We are, yes.
That's a really touchy subject with me. I do have issues with that. But read, enjoy. Hey, try some of those different decks. I'm going to have to get the kids deck. I really am because that just sounds like so much fun.
It is. They have some fun stuff out. And really quickly, don't forget to go to our YouTube channel to like our and subscribe. Sorry, Facebook, YouTube. Yeah, like and subscribe. That covers them all. Tea Time with Mother and Crone. Thyme, Thyme. You must be a subscriber, but we are doing giveaways, and we have a keyword of the week. This week, the keyword is tarot. So
who?
We did not have a winner last week.
Oh,
we did not. So you guys are letting Tea Time mugs go without a home. That is not cool. We have mugs to give out. We want to give them out to you. Yes. All you have to do is subscribe. You get a little sneak peek, like when we record our show, prior to it streaming, you'll get notifications. You can turn it on or off if you don't want our notifications. Perfectly fine. But the only thing is just to be a subscriber. And then all you do is email the keyword to teatimemc@gmail.com. What the keyword is, if we have several people, then we'll put it on a spinny wheel and draw randomly. But you get a free mug, a free Tea Time mug.
Free mug. And I want to thank whoever bid at the auction for our t-shirt and our mug. Thank you so much.
Thank you, whoever you are.
We don't
and whoever you are, post a picture of and then put like CNT auction winning, and like we want to see who are you. We're excited that did so well.
Well, we're gonna CNT auction.
I was bidding on that, Pamela. I was bidding on that.
I got it. Problem. You get.
We have fun during auction time.
But there is going to be another auction in
the fall, right?
In the fall, and again, we have donated a t-shirt and a mug. We're not sure what else is going to be there, but we do know that those are already donated. So thank you very much for helping the Corellian tradition. It's pretty awesome when we can do these. And
I think we raised over like $800.
And I want a big shout out to Mike Neal, because that man, bless his heart, I'm telling you, I know I drive him nuts because I'm a bidder. And when it gets into the bidding wars, he's like, whoa, but he is awesome because he gathers it all together, puts it all together. If you bid on one or two items, like I won a few items.
Yes.
Yes, I did.
I got my Arrowhead Native American arrows that I won, so I'm excited for those.
He puts it together. If there's less shipping, you get a refund for a couple dollars off the shipping, which he really doesn't have to do. The packages, I've already got mine. I mean, this was and I just paid for it, so I was like, whoa. It's wonderful. It goes for a good cause. It goes for a tradition. But some of the stuff, I'm going to have to show you the earrings I got. Yeah, I had way too much fun. But again, thank you whoever bid on us because that made us like we were so proud.
I know. It was so fun to see that. And thank you always, always, always for you guys' support. We do get on in the chat on Sundays when it live streams on Facebook so we can interact with you guys if you have questions or want to hang out. So that's always fun. And that's sort of a new thing that we just started doing. So
And now next week, again, we're going to say the special word for this week is.
tarot.
And next week, we're going to be working on rune magic and tea leaf reading. Now, I have never read tea leaves. I've never been good at it. All I
I'm
imagine is
just delving
Harry
in.
Potter.
Yeah, I'm just delving into runes, so we got each other.
We got each other. I always imagine that Harry Potter scene where she's looking in, and it's like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's
I've
ex-
never seen anything like
it's
that.
exactly like that.
Thank you. That's just what I need to hear. But we're going to go into that. And the week after, May 30th, we're going to have again a little bit of divination, but this is going to be a lot of different stuff. So if you have a favorite or something that's really different in divination, please shoot us a line and let us know what it is because we might be able to hit on that topic on the 30th. So give us a
Yes.
heads up on that because there's so many different things. We're going to try some oddball stuff then. Next week is the rune magic. Please watch that because we're going to show you how to make some runes. We're going to have fun with that one, as well as the tea leaf reading. I can't wait to see this part because I cannot read tea leaves. So I just can't wait to see what comes up. So it ought to be a lot of fun. Again, thank everybody for watching and supporting us. We really appreciate it. We love your comments on Sunday. We try to jump on there and answer them back and be as silly as we can be. So thank you. And I guess we're going to see you all next week.